Oh, Ego, why is Jaron Boots Ennis the IBF champ? He's the email champ, he ain't work. Why they strip Terence Crawford?
Seek, and you shall find. I'm gonna talk about it. Jaron Boots Ennis, brand new and the new IBF champion. Terence Crawford stripped. What happened? Was the IBF wrong? Were they right? That's what I'll talk about in this video. Stay tuned. We unpacked. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. A whole lot of talking. Jaron Boots Ennis becomes the IBF champion. Congratulations to Team Boots Ennis for that accomplishment. Some people appeared to be shaken up. A few feathers were ruffled in this process of the IBF stripping Terence Crawford, who was undisputed after beating Errol Spence for the second time. There's a lot of misconceptions, I will say, and that's why I'm doing this unpack, because that's where I really get, I'm the best in the business, and that's where I really get off. Real detailed, all facts. Let's talk about it. So jumping right into it, some people, and this is directed at those people. Some people say, oh, this was wrong and the IBF moved too soon. Even ESPN has come out and suggested like the IBF is flawed for making this move and announcing Jaron Ennis the new champion with the IBF. And there's a lot of misnomers and misconceptions that I'm gonna put to bed. Make sure you guys watch this video till the end, because I'm really gonna kick the actual factuals. Now, let's talk about it. ESPN reporter Mike Coppinger kicked it off with this tweet. Says, Terence Crawford was stripped of the IBF title with Jaron Ennis elevated from interim champion. Crawford owes Spence a rematch and can't fulfill a mandatory. However, Spence got away with only one IBF mandatory defense in 5.5 years, a knockout in the first round of Carlos Ocampo. So right there, you can see he's already snitching. Each fighter, each thing is its own individual case-by-case basis. And he's talking about, hey, Spence got away with. What are we talking about? Got away with. So you could already hear the tone and the tonality of what's being said. Spence got away with only fighting one IBF mandatory. So let's further talk about this. And I tell you all the time on my channel, I'm the best in the business, and it's not even close. And you got to be careful where you get your information, because some of you guys listen to what different people say, and then you come to my channel, and that's where the road ends, because I know what I'm talking about. I've been here. You wasn't there, right? So you guys come with these talking points that other people have put out there, and then you run with them, and then this is what happens. I do an unpack video, break it down, you look foolish. So a person responded to this and said, these are the IBF rules. Boots became the mandatory and interim champion, and they enforced it now. To which the same ESPN reporter, Mike Coppinger, says, that doesn't explain why the IBF didn't make an interim champion, why Spence dealt with two different serious injuries. The IBF, like all others, make up the rules as it goes, right? So you guys seen it. The fan tried to put him, and this is crazy. How does the fan know more about what's going on than the actual reporter? Right? So the fan's trying to explain to him why Boots was elevated. He says, why didn't the IBF make and establish an interim champion? So let's talk about it. Why didn't the IBF establish an IBF interim champion? Oh, that's right. They did. So the same reporter, you see it, the same reporter, Mike Coppinger, wrote the article for the same company, ESPN, and what does that say? Jaron Ennis and Castillo Clayton is set for IBF welterweight title eliminator in the spring, sources say. So he's making it sound like the IBF did make up their own rules. He literally just told you they make up their own rules as they go. Why didn't they establish a IBF eliminator in 5.5 years? This is inaccurate because you wrote the initial article showing that Jaron Ennis, Castillo Clayton, a guy he knocked out in the first or second round, was for the IBF eliminator. But I'm gonna take it back further than that. The ESPN writer says, why didn't the IBF establish the IBF interim in the 5.5 years that Errol Spence was champion? Here's another example. Sergey Lipinets versus Castillo Clayton is set for the IBF interim. Abdul Kakarov is out. So basically, Abdul Kakarov was a fighter. He was higher ranked than at least one of these guys, Lipinets or Clayton, and he had visa issues, so he couldn't make it to America. So they went down the list and picked up Sergey Lipinets or Castillo Clayton, whoever was the next available contender. So right now, ESPN is 0 for 2. These are examples of the IBF following their own rules and making a interim fight. And if you know boxing, you'll know that Sergey Lipinets and Castillo Clayton, they battled to a majority draw. I watched the fight. I personally I think it was that Castillo Clayton won, but it's been a minute, so I don't really remember. But either way, the official ruling was that it was a draw. So as a result, if it's a draw, how can someone become an interim champion if the judges ruled it a draw? No one won, no one lost. A draw is technically a half win, half loss. So technically nobody outright won. So that's why there was no interim champion. So again, you got ESPN who's making it sound like Jaron Boots Ennis cut in line and somehow the IBF showed him favoritism and slighted Terence Crawford, but I've already established that this is all poppycock. This is all false. The reason Errol Spence was the IBF champion and he didn't have an established mandatory is because, again, in one instance, Lipinets and Clayton, they battled to a draw. So technically nobody won, so no one's gonna be appointed the interim champion. Right? And hold these two names, Lipinets and Castillo Clayton, in the back of your mind because I still ain't finished. Now, as far as the other guy who had visa issues, Abdul Kakarov, he ended up losing to Cody Crowley. He fought on somebody's undercard against Cody Crowley. So even when his visa issues were resolved, he ended up losing to Cody Crowley. Now, fast forward to Jaron Boots Ennis. You've seen that Castillo Clayton and Jaron Ennis were battling because they were highly ranked or whatever, battling for the interim. Jaron Ennis knocked him out. Now, you look at the other guy in that draw. I told you to save those names. Sergey Lipinets. Oh, yeah, that's right. Jaron Boots Ennis also fought him. So Clayton has a draw with Sergey Lipinets. Afterwards, Boots knocks him out. Sergey Lipinets also fought Jaron Ennis. And that's right. Jaron Ennis knocked him out. Once again, they had an interim championship fight that ended in a majority draw between Sergey Lipinets and Castillo Clayton. Within a fight or two after that fight, Castillo Clayton and Sergey Lipinets end up fighting Jaron Ennis, and he knocked both of them out. So what are we talking about? So there was nothing unfair or disadvantaged that seen Jaron Ennis being elevated up. Again, they went through the interim championship process, couldn't establish an actual interim because Sergey Lipinets and Castillo Clayton ended in a majority draw. And then another highly ranked person, Jaron Ennis, still ended up facing both guys after that moment, and he knocked them both out. Easy work. Easy work. So there was no sleight of hand trick. There was no foul play, if you will, with Jaron Ennis. He just went through the protocols. The IBF, they went through their standard rules. We couldn't establish an interim champion in the Lipinets Castillo Clayton fight, and then they had another highly ranked Jaron Ennis, PBC still made those fights. Jaron's like washed both of them. One guy got knocked out in the second round. That was Clayton. And then the other guy got knocked out in about the 6th round. So he basically ran through the whole top list. And then the other guy with visa issues, as I mentioned, Abu Kakarov, he finally got his visa cleared up, and he ended up losing to Cody Crowley. And speaking of Cody Crowley, they tried to make a Cody Crowley fight according to Boots' team. They tried to make Cody Crowley on the Benavidez Andre card, and they said Cody Crowley pulled out. So Jaron Ennis, as you guys have seen, and I've eloquently broken down for you with all facts, he's done nothing wrong. He's done nothing wrong. He literally went through the protocol. The problem I have is ESPN, you have a reporter who's writing articles saying that there's an IBF eliminator, only to, when Crawford gets stripped, to try to make it sound like the IBF is just making these things up as they go and revisionist history and making it sound like they jerked Terence Crawford or somehow, some way, went against their own rules and did some vigilante stuff. But that's not what happened. And then you're trying to make it like Errol Spence refused to fight mandatories. They couldn't establish. I've already broke that down several times. And if you don't remember, go watch the middle of this video. They tried to establish interim champions. Different things happened, the visa issues. Then they put the next available people, Lipinets, Castillo, Clayton, and they couldn't get a decisive winner in that particular fight. Nonetheless, as I've mentioned several times over at this point, Jaron Ennis washed both guys that fought to a majority draw, Lipinets and Clayton, and made it look easy, and still was pursuing top guys like Villa, who he washed, and he tried to get a Cody Crowley fight who beat Abu Kakarov. So really, Jaron Ennis is long overdue, and he really ran through the whole IBF top list. Like anybody who was pretty much ranked, with the exception of, I would say, Virgil Ortiz. But Virgil Ortiz, he's not even fighting. He keep pulling out of fights because he's sick and injured, health problems and stuff. So, and you got a different promoter, so that would have been a bit harder to make to begin with. So again, if you're gonna come at me with facts, you gotta come with me, with the real facts, because I was there and I lived this and I remember everything. So I had to set the record straight and make this video another brilliant unpack. Make sure you guys subscribe. It's free for all your boxing news, because people are spreading propaganda, lies, and falsehoods and acting like this is some kind of Tony Parker, Steph Curry trick shot and underhanded business that the IBF did to elevate Jaron Ennis and to somehow, dismantle or hurt Terence Crawford, and that's not the case. And then they're also making it seem like Errol Spence just wasn't fighting no mandatories. Now, finally, what I will say with Errol Spence is, we're talking about mandatories. I feel like AI practice. You talking about practice? Bro, Errol Spence fought Ocampo, which is what the ESPN reporter said, right? He said, oh, he only fought Ocampo in this whole time. But you got to tell the full story. I hate when people tell half a story, right? What else was Errol Spence doing in the 5.5 years? It wasn't just about accidents and coming back from, chaos and turmoil and accidents and detached retinas. In between that time, he was also making it very easy for Terence Crawford by lassoing and rounding up the other belts in unifications. So that could be, I don't know, just a guess, but that could be another main reason outside of the accidents and the detached retina, which did cause some delay in Errol's career, but him unifying with Sean Porter, him unifying with Ugas. Those big fights also accounted for some of his time, which didn't allow for mandatories. And a lot of times the promotional companies or the belts, they're not going to get in the way of major unifications and big fights that are good for boxing. So that's another reason why he wasn't fighting mandatories, because it's not like Terence Crawford, a guy who at that time only had one belt, right? He only had one belt to defend, and that's only one. You only have to abide by one sanctioning body's rules and fight whatever mandatories that are within that. You know what I mean? But if you have 2 and 3 belts, Then you have a lot more mandatories, and you're also doing unifications, which varies the argument. So everything that ESPN was putting out was propaganda. I'm not surprised. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Best in the business, and it's not even close. We unpacked.
Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official BOXINGEGO YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with a $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new, interactive, and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks.
The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation.
Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.